There we go. Okay, great. Okay, so today we're doing page 20, and
Yeah.
we're still doing history. And yeah, so let's do trade page 20. Let's see. Mohammed, would you like to read this part where it says a railway from sea to sea? Would you like to do that part?
Yes, are really from say to say. See, British Columbia joined Canada in 1971 after Ottawa promised to Poland Riley, Ri- railway to the west coast on the November 7 and 1885. Profile, powerful, symbol of unity and of unity was completed when Donald Smith, Lord Strathcona,
Yeah.
the Sus- the Scotch Brown direct, director of the Canadian Pacific Railway,
Railway. Good.
Railway,
Railway.
Railway, CBR, drove the last speak. The project was financed by British and American invis- visitor and pilot by both Oregon and Chinese labor. Afterwards, the Chinese were subject to discrimination, including the head tax, Aries, based entry fee. The government of Canada obliged in 206. This is 200.
Yeah. So you would say 2006. 2006.
2006.
Yeah.
For this discriminatory police policy, after many years of he- heroic work, the CBR ribbons of steel flew flew flight flew flight a national dream.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, there's some difficult words there. Very good. Okay.
Some word
Difficult, yeah.
it's hard.
Yeah, yeah. No, you did well. That's very good. No problem. So a railway from sea to sea. So the railway, I'll just look at the picture. You can see the picture in your book, but look at this railway here. That goes through the mountains of Canada. Imagine how hard that would be to build. Be very, very difficult. So they go all across Canada, the railway, a railway from sea to sea. So Canada is such a big, big country. And they thought that if we have a railway, it will unite the country. It will bring the country together because there's no roads across Canada. And so if they have a railway, they can they can move people and they can move goods. They can move food and agriculture and things people want on the railway. So they called it a powerful symbol of unity. So unity means when everybody is together. unity. That's what unity means. And so it's a symbol of unity. That means the railway was a symbol that Canada was one country together. Yeah. And so, and this says in 1885, remember 1885, Lord Strathcona, Donald Smith, he drove the last spike. So if you can see in the picture there, you see the picture here, this is all wood, like these are all trees, right? This is all wood. And this is the steel railway tracks. And every single one of them has a big nail in it, a big spike. Every single one across the whole country. And so you can think of any millions of spikes there are to hold that metal rail down across Canada. And so he says he drove the last spike. That means they put the last big nail in to make the railway. Must have been millions of spikes in the railway. And so the things to think about here, the questions they will ask are the name of the railway, Canadian Pacific Railway. So try to remember that. That will probably be a question. Canadian Pacific Railway, they will ask that. They will ask the date, 1885. They will probably ask that. And then it was built by people from Europe and people from China. Okay, so many, many thousands of people came to Canada to build the railway. And after the railway was finished, Canada didn't treat the Chinese people very well. They discriminated against them. That's the discrimination. So they charged them a head tax. So that means for every person, they made the Chinese pay to stay in Canada, which was very bad. And then in 2006, so a long time, over, 120, 30 something years, it took a long time for the government of Canada to apologize, to say they were sorry for doing that. And then it says, after many years of heroic work, the CPR's ribbons of steel, they called it the national dream. So the national, so they to make a country, they thought they needed a railway to make a country called Canada, because the land was so very, very big. And they needed a country to bring it together. They needed a railway to bring it together. Good. Okay, so the things to remember: the date, 1885. 1885 for when they built it. And then this guy, Lord Strathcona, he was the one that kind of did it. The name, Canadian Pacific Railway. And then the European and Chinese people, they built it. And then the head tax, probably about the Chinese. Those all might be questions. Yeah, okay, let's do some more. Let's do this one. Let's see. Zaniba, would you like to do this one? It says moving westward. Do you want to do that one?
Yes. And Canada's economy growing and become more industrialized. Is that correct? And during the economy boom of the 1890s and early 1900s, 1 million British and 1 million American immigrants to Canada at this time.
Very good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so let's just stop there. So the railway was finished. The railway was finished in 1885. And so from the 1890s to the early 1900s, many people came to Canada because they could go on the railway. And so they went on the railway, and many, many people went to the west. They went to British Columbia and the west of Canada. There's 1 million British people and 1 million Americans immigrated to Canada because it was, it says an economic boom. That means there's you could have good jobs, you could make money, and it was good to live in Canada then because there was lots of work. Yeah, very good. Okay, and then we'll do the next part, and then we'll do some questions. And then we'll do some reading after the questions. So let's see. Ghazala, would you like to do this part here where it says Wilfrid Laurier?
Okay, Brian. Wilfrid Laurier became the first French Canadian Parliament Prime Minister since Confederation and encouraged in immigration to the West. His portrait is on the $5 bill.
Good.
The railway made it possible
Good. Possible.
for immigrants included 117,000
Good. Ukrainians. Good.
Ukrainians, 115,000 balls and tens of the thousands from Germany, France, Norway, and Sweden to settle in the West before 1940 and develop a thriving
Yeah, good. Thriving. Good. Agricultural.
and growth. What, Brian, please?
Agricultural. That's a hard one. Agricultural.
Sector.
Okay, very good. Okay. Very good. Okay, I'm just going to mute you for a second, okay? Okay, so this part talks about Wilfrid Laurier. So we heard about, remember John A. Macdonald, he was our first prime minister. So they were all English prime ministers until Wilfrid Laurier. And Wilfrid Laurier was the first French Canadian prime minister since Confederation. Yeah, so that's a long time. And what he did, it was very important. He wanted people to go to the West. He wanted people to go to the West and have farms and live in the West. And today his picture is on the $5 Canadian bill. And if you live in Waterloo, or you know Waterloo, there's the university there. It's called Laurier. It's called Laurier University, and it's named after him. And my son goes to Laurier University. So we have a university in the area in Waterloo that's named after Sir Wilfrid Laurier. Yeah, so he was a very important prime minister because he encouraged people to go to the West. And then because they had the railway, many thousands of immigrants came from all over the world. So 170,000 from the Ukrainian, 115,000 Polish people, And it says tens of thousands, so thousands and thousands of people from Germany, France, Norway, Sweden, they all went to the West, to all the different areas in the West. And all before 1914. And it says they develop a thriving agricultural sector. So that means they started having farms, and they grew a lot of food, and it was thriving means they're very, very good. So a thriving agricultural sector means they were having farms and they were doing very, very well. Yeah. And so that's why Wilfrid Laurier is a very important prime minister, because he helped to make Canada rich, really, with the agriculture. Okay, very good. I'm going to do some questions now, and then we'll do some reading after, because the next part is different. Okay, so let's try some questions. And right now, Manal and Ghazala, you're muted, just so you know. Okay, so let's see. Zaniba, would you like to do this one?
Okay. Who became the first French Canadian Prime Minister since Confederation? They're the first one.
اسمع اللعبة حلوة.
Wilfrid Laurier. Good. Very good. Good. And then let's see, Ghazala, would you like to do this one?
Okay, Brian. Whose border is on the $5 bills? $5. Okay, number 2. Same.
Yeah.
Sir
Wilfrid.
Wilfrid
Laurier. Yeah, Wilfrid Laurier. Good. And then Manal, could you do this one?
The not
Hope you're you're muted and then unmuted.
now teacher, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay.
What made possible for immigrants to still in Western Canada? Possible. Okay. The company to Canada. Into often.
4 مناطق.
Trolley.
4 مناطق.
For teacher.
Yeah, I think you're right. Very good. The completion of the Canadian
Very
Pacific.
good, very good, Ghazala.
Very good. Oh, okay. And that's all the questions? That's not very many questions. Okay. Okay. We'll stop. We'll do the other part now. Okay. We have to talk about the First World War. Okay. Okay. So we'll do the next page now. We'll just do the part at the top, the green part on page 21. We'll just move this down just a second. There we go. Second. First World War. Okay. So Canada, so to start off, Canada was doing very well because we had a railway, we had good farms in the West, and people were happy and becoming rich. And then we have the First World War. Okay, so let's see, who hasn't read yet? Manal, would you like to do this part where this is on page 21 at the top, the green part on your books?
Okay.
Can you do that First World War part?
Most Canadians here.
Yeah, that part there.
Most Canadians were proud to be part of the British Empire. Over 7,000 volunteered to fight
To fight?
to fight in the South African War 1899 to 1802, probably known as the Boer War, and over 260 died.
Yeah.
In 19,000 Canadians. What, teacher?
I was going to say in 1900. In 1900.
1900
Yeah.
Canadians took part in the battles of Bertridge House Mountain and Lavernity victorias that Starnegonde. What
Strengthened.
is
Strengthened.
statement?
Strengthened. Strengthened.
Strengthened natural breed in Canada.
Yeah, very good. You got the hard names there. Those are hard.
Yeah.
That's not even English, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, but I see me is good now reading. Not
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same.
Yeah, that's very good. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is just talking about just before the First World War. So it says Canadians were proud to be part of the British Empire. They're proud, and they volunteered to fight in the war in South Africa. And 260 died. So 7,000 volunteered and 260 died. And then they took part in these battles were in the war in South Africa. I don't know if you have to remember them, those names. But what it's saying is that Canadians were proud, and because they did well in these battles, then people in Canada were proud of that. They were proud that Canadian men were fighting for the British Empire. So I don't think you have to remember too much about this part. Maybe the Boer War, maybe the name of the Boer War. Okay, so let's see. Let's go down a little bit here, and then we'll go back to Mohammed, I think. Can you do this part here?
Yes, Brian.
Yeah.
When Germany attacked Belgium and France in 1914 and Britain declared war, Ottawa formed the Canadian Expeditionary Force, later the Canadian Corps. More than 600,000 Canadians served in the war, most of them volunteers, out of a total population of 8 million.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, so there are questions here that they will ask. The Canadian Expeditionary Force, later the Canadian Corps. So that means the men who fought, they call them the Canadian Corps. And this number here, 600,000. So the question might be, how many Canadians served in the First World War? You would say 600,000. And most of them volunteered. And at that time, the First World War, Canada only had 8 million people. So 600,000 out of 8 million is a lot of people. Yeah, okay. So 1914, the war started, and then 600,000 Canadians served, and the Canadian Corps was started by Ottawa. Okay, those are the things to remember in that part there. Okay, so let's see. These are long passages, so we'll maybe do half. Zaniba, do you want to do this part here?
Okay, teacher.
On the battlefield, please?
And on the battlefield, this all, when I sing, the word is difficult all inside. On the battlefield, the Canadians proved to be tough on innovative soldiers, and Canada shared in the tragedy and triumph of the Western Front. The Canadian Corps captured Vimy Ridge. Oh, teacher, all the word is like new.
No, but you're doing them correctly. So you're doing well. That's very good. Vimy Ridge. Yeah, you're doing a good job.
And Ridge in April 1917. What is 10,000 killed or wounded, scoring the Canadians' reputation from valor as the shock trouble of the British Empire. One Canadian officer said it was Canada from it's finished
From
to
this one here.
Atlantic, yeah, Atlantic to the Pacific on parade in those few minutes witnessed the birth of the national April 9 in celebrated as Vimy Day. Oh, teacher, so
No, but Zaniba, they're new words, but you got them all correct. There's no problem there whatsoever. Yeah, so it's good. It's good you sound them out. I just wanted to show you this picture. Can you see the picture over here at the side here? This picture here. This is Vimy Ridge. And this is a very important place for Canadians. It's in France. And can you see the picture there? He's kneeling here at the side.
yes,
There's the big statues. So this is a this is in France, but they call it Canadian territory. This is in France though. This is in France, but it's a very, very important place because so many Canadians died helping France, and France remembers that every year. So every year they have a big ceremony here, and this is when you say Vimy Ridge in Canada, people know what that means. It's a very, very yeah, because Canadians came from all over Canada, and they were helping France fight, and many thousands of Canadians lost.
This
Yeah,
but celebrating as Vimy Day is not like, yeah, that's true. Yes.
Yeah. So every in November 11th, they have a celebration. They have a ceremony there, and on the April 9th, they have a ceremony there. Sorry, they have a ceremony there too. And so I just wanted to show you that picture because it's very important. Okay, so let's see. The Vimy Memorial in France honors those who served and died in the Battle of Vimy Ridge, the first British victory of the First World War. Okay, so Canada fought with Britain, but they fought as Canadians. Before, Canadians went to fight, and the British generals said, you were fighting with us. But at Vimy Ridge, they were all Canadians. So this was one of the first times that Canada fought as one country. And it says, you can see here, it says 10,000 people, Canadians, were killed or wounded. And so that's why they have this here. This is a question to the shock troops of the British Empire. Shock means they were tough and they were scary. People were afraid of the Canadians because they were tough. That's what it says. That's what it means by shock troops. And so this was usually a question. A question about Vimy Ridge. So the Canadian Corps, they captured Vimy Ridge, so they won, but they lost so many men fighting for it. It was a very, they won, but it was very difficult because so many Canadians died. And it said, they said that when they're describing it, it was like Canadians from the Atlantic to the Pacific. So it means Canadian people from all over Canada, from Newfoundland all the way to British Columbia were there. And they called it the birth of a nation. That's what you often hear. That's, people think that's when Canada was born. It was separate from England and Great Britain, because it was Canadians alone who fought that. Yeah. So that's a very important thing, and that sometimes is a question. Okay. So let's do, we got a little bit more to do, and then we'll do some more questions. And Zaniba, those are maybe new words, but you got every one of them correct. So that's no problem. It's no problem whatsoever. Okay, so let's see. Now we have, I think Manal, would you like to do this part here? Regrettably, can you do that part?
Okay. Regrettably?
Yeah, regrettably.
Regrettably, from 1940 to 1920, Ottawa interested over 800 farmer Ostro Hungarian Indian subjects mainly Ukrainian mean as enemy dealings in 24 labor companies across Canada. Over so British advised against the policy.
Yeah, very good. Okay.
It's difficult, teacher.
Yeah, no, these are difficult words. Yeah, no problem. No problem. That's good. So this one, so what happened to so the war, the First World War, so 1914, it went from 1914 to 1918. But from 1914 to 1920, so there were people living in Canada that were from the country Canada was fighting. You know, Austro, it was like Germany, but it was like Austro-Hungarian. So that the country and the people that were Canada and Britain were fighting in Europe, people in Canada were from that country, but they weren't fighting. Anyways, what happened was Canada took all these people that were from that country and they made them work in camps. They took them from their homes and they made labor camps. So they made them work for 6 years. And Britain said, you shouldn't do this, but Canada did this anyway. And it wasn't very good because these people didn't do anything. They were just from that country. You know, it would be like, I was born in United States. And so it would be like if Canada was having a war with the United States right now, they would put me and anybody else born in the United States, they would take us from our house and put us in a labor camp, you know, and that's not right. because I didn't do anything and these people didn't do anything either. But that's what Ottawa did. So that was it was a bad thing that Ottawa did. Yeah. Okay, so let's do the next part. And this one is kind of long, so we'll break it up. And okay, so let's see. I think Gazala, I think it's your turn now. Would you like to do this one? It says 1918.
Okay.
Try that one.
In 1918, under the command of General Sir Arthur Grey, Canada's greatest soldiers, the Canadian groups, no, GORPS,
Corps. The way you say it is the Canadian Corps. You don't hear the P. You just the Canadian Corps. Yeah.
GORPS advised alongside the French and British Empire troops in the last 100 days. These included the Victoria's Battle of Americans, Amiens on August 8, 1918, which the Germans called the Black Day of the German army, followed by Arras Canal do Nord Cambrai and Mons with Germany and Asturias. This is hard.
Surrender.
Surrender that were ended in the Amnestier on November 11, 1918. In total, 60,000 Canadians were were killed and 117,000 wounded. The war
Strengthened.
both national and in umbrella bride
Particularly
in English Canada.
Well, very good. Very good, Giselle. There's a lot of French words in there too, and you got those correct. That's very good. That's very good. These are hard. These are hard things today. Okay, everybody's doing very well. Okay, so let's look at the kind of questions they will ask here. So this one here, who was Canada's greatest soldier? Try to Sir Arthur Currie. That might be a question. Canada's greatest soldier. They called him that because, he was a good general. The victories of Amiens, they called the Black Day of the German army. I don't know think the last question is there. Let's see. The war ended in November 11th, 1918. This is a question I asked. How many Canadians were killed in the First World War? 60,000. 60,000. Yeah, so that's a lot. So 600,000 volunteered, and then 60,000 were killed, and 170,000 were wounded. And the war made people proud. You know, they were proud in Canada, especially people from England, people that were from, you know, British people in Canada were proud because Canada was a big help in the First World War. Yeah. Okay, lots of information, but just try to remember some dates and the numbers. I don't think you have to, you don't have to remember other than this General Sir Arthur Currie, Canada's greatest soldier. Okay, so let's try some questions on this now. Okay, and then I guess, Mohammed, would you like to do this one?
Yes. How many Canadians served in the First World War? Number 4, more than 600,000.
Yeah, very good, excellent. Good. And then Zaniba, would you like to try this one?
This one. Okay, teacher. And who had the reproduction of the beginning the shock drop? That's maybe the one I read.
Yeah, that's the one you read, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I read it. I remember what the shock drops of the British Empire. The Canadian drop of British, no. That's early where I am, teacher. I take is like British, is British, the number 3, the British troops.
Okay, so just a second though. So who are we talking about? Like who are we reading about today?
About Canadian. So
Yeah, yeah.
The Canadian is the first one. Yes.
Yeah, so maybe it'd be the first one.
Yeah, we read
Yeah,
it.
there we go. Yeah, very good. The Canadian troops were the shock troops of the British Empire. Yeah, very good. Okay, and then this is for Manal, I think.
Who was Canadian's greatest soldier during the First World War? John.
You know it's not number 2.
What, teacher?
I'm just saying, you know it's not number 2.
Yeah, no.
Oh.
Yes, there. Number 3, teacher.
Very good. Yeah, very good. Okay, so what I do now is I finish that and then we bring up more questions. Let's just do this. And then we have to do more questions. Okay. 1 second. All right, new test. Okay, I'm gonna go up here. This will just take a second. Okay, there we go. 35 questions left. Wow, 35 questions and you guys are finished history. And history is the biggest chapter. So you guys are doing very well. Okay. Oh, that's all we have to do today. This stuff is for the next, this is for the next day. Yeah, very good. I don't want to do too much because there's a lot of information and I want to go slow. Very good today.